All right, everyone. Welcome back, marketers. We are going to talk about the diffusion of innovation curve and adoption of new products. This is our third in our series of videos on our first P of product in the marketing mix. And I am excited. I think this is a fun topic, and I'm really curious to see how you think you fit into what we're going to talk about today. So when we think about, let me back up. We've already talked about what a product is, how do we categorize a product. In our previous videos, they will be linked down below. And we have also talked about the new product development process and the different types of innovations that we have, also linked in a video down below. Now we're talking about, we have a new product. How do we get it into the hands of the people? What does that look like? Do people accept new things quickly? What are the things that impact whether consumers will actually adopt our new product or not? So we define product adoption as this process by which a consumer begins to buy and use a new good or service. And then diffusion is the process by which that product spreads throughout the population. Okay. So there's a curve called the adoption curve. It looks like a normal distribution curve that you've seen in a statistics class, where basically we have a few people who are at the very beginning and they like to buy new things, and then people at the end who takes them forever to buy anything new, to adopt something, a new technology or a new something. And then most people are kind of in here at the middle of the curve. Okay. There's another video that I'm going to link to that walks through this process. It's a cute little video. It does a great job of explaining each of these different categories of adopters. So I'm going to just go through them very quickly and then talk about what things actually affect the rate at which this new innovation gets adopted. Okay, so the first people who actually purchase a product, who are out there wanting to get their hands on the new things, those are called the innovators. That's about 2.5% of the population. Now, you might be an innovator in one category, but in a different category for some other type of products. Okay. The next we have early adopters. These are people they're not the first in line. They're not standing in line at Walmart overnight waiting for the newest and latest, greatest thing to come out. They're not pre-ordering the new iPhone, but they are going to be in that first, segment of people beyond those people who are crazy and stand in line or pre-order or whatever. Okay, this is about 13.5% of the population. They are early adopters. They like to check out new things. They like to be among the first to try them. They don't need to be the very first. Okay, then we have the early and late majority. These people make up the bulk of our curve here. We have about 34% in each category for a total of 68% in the early and late majority. Okay, typically, these are people who are wanting to make sure that the bugs, any bugs that are there exist, are kind of worked out. They want to make sure that the product delivers on what it's actually does what the company says it's going to, and those kinds of things. Okay. Then our last category, those are the laggards. Okay, they're named appropriately. They are lagging behind everyone else. They are the last to adopt this new thing. Let's say this new technology, because they have no interest in it. Maybe they think maybe they prefer the one that the thing that they actually already use. It just takes them a long time to get there, right? My mom was a laggard on the whole smartphone thing. I think my dad had gone through like 3 different iPhones before she finally caved and got an iPhone. She was so against getting a smartphone that she actually, when one of her phones died, they didn't even sell a non-smartphone at Verizon anymore. And so she had to go on eBay and find some, I don't know, refurbished something so that she could actively avoid getting a smartphone. So that's a laggard. Now, why is it that sometimes we have an innovation that spreads throughout the population rather quickly, even though we still have the same curve? And why do we have some innovations that take a pretty long time to make it all the way through the population? There are 5 critical factors that will affect the speed at which an innovation is diffused through the population. We're going to talk through each of them, and I'm going to walk through kind of parallel examples, okay? They are relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. So let's actually talk about those. So the first is relative advantage. This is the degree to which a consumer perceives that this new thing offers more benefits than whatever they already have for that, right? Maybe it's a new technology, a smartphone, right? But the thing they already have for that is a laptop, right? It may be a modified product, like a continuous innovation, or this could be a discontinuous innovation, okay? All right, so let's talk about an example. For example, one year, my mom got my husband and I a Keurig for Christmas, okay? So what is the perception of superior benefits to that? So for us, it's faster to make coffee, and you can make single serve, things a little bit easier, okay? And I would say Keurig did a really good job at this. They did a really good job at communicating that benefit and why the Keurig is different than your traditional coffee maker, right? These are very functional benefits, right? You can make single serve coffee and it takes a lot less time. Okay. They did an excellent job of promoting that. That's something that you should definitely do as a marketer. You want to make sure that consumers see that this is a new and different thing. Okay. All right. Next would be compatibility. Okay. Compatibility is going to be the extent to which the innovation is consistent with the existing cultural values, customs, practices, norms, social norms, and things like that. If there is a disconnect here, if this new innovation butts heads with the existing social norms or whatever, that perceived disconnect really slows down the adoption, okay? You want to make sure, so as from the marketer's perspective, you want to make sure you are communicating, in a way that shows that this new thing does fit with the existing norms, the existing cultural values, okay? From our Keurig example, I would say that generally speaking, this, it did fit with American values, at least. We value convenience, we value individualism, especially if you look at from a cultural perspective of just like how the makeup of the family now, something that is quicker and more convenient absolutely fits with the idea of, in two-parent households, it's something like 60 to 65 to 70% of those households, both parents work. So you have more people who need something that's quicker, right? They need that convenience. So that compatibility can be a really important aspect of how quickly the innovation moves through the population. The next is going to be complexity. So this is going to be the degree or the extent to which consumers perceive that this new thing is difficult or easy to use. Is it difficult or easy to understand? So obviously, if it is perceived to be more complex, it's going to move through the population slower. The population will adopt it more slowly. So if we think of our Keurig example, when Keurig came out with their machines, I think Keurig makes it as a pretty good example of most of these, even a lot of the commercials demonstrated, right? Like how open, put the thing in, close, push the button. They definitely made it as simple as it could be, right? My 3-year-old make me coffee because sometimes when I don't want it, because it is so simple to understand a Keurig, okay? If it is complex, right? Again, this is where our marketing communications really plays a role, that P of promotion. When we can communicate how to use it, or we can communicate something that might be confusing to consumers before they've even tried the product, right? We can help overcome any issues that there might be with complexity. The next one is trialability. Okay, so trialability is refers to how easy is it for a customer to sample, to try the new product and its benefits without making a long-term commitment. Okay, so if there are lower costs, if it is free to try, or that there's a trial price, or if there's a trial, we see this a lot with technologically, like streaming services and subscriptions, right? Get the first month free, get the first month for 50% off, making it really simple for people to try it. When we think about tangible goods like the Keurig, a lot of places, they will actually have the Keurig on display. Like Walmart will often have the Keurig, things like coffee makers and other small and large appliances on display so that people can go check them out. They can touch them, they can feel them, they can see, oh, it opens and closes, and here's the button, right? And I can try it out. Things like digital cameras and laptops that are, that can be a little bit more complex, right? We see those all over the place. Best Buy is a great example. I'm not sure that there are any appliances or really technology products at Best Buy that you cannot sample at all, right? They have everything out on display so you can go and look and try it out before you make the purchase. Okay. This helps to speed up that process of moving the innovation throughout the population. Okay. Another way you could do this would be through sales demonstrations, where you actually have someone demonstrating the product at different places at different times. Think of like new food products at Sam's Club, or sometimes you'll see this at like a fast food restaurant. They're coming out with a new product, and so for the first week or the first however long, it's $1. There's some trial price, and so that can really help to overcome any issues with that idea, especially if it's a more complex product. I'm kind of thinking back to some of the other ones, when you can let people see it and try it out, right? You can further reduce those issues with complexity. But there are some products that just don't lend themselves to trials. And so that can be a challenge because, it's just the nature of the product, or maybe there are high costs associated with it. So, you kind of have to be creative sometimes about how you do try to figure out this triability. Maybe it's less about trialability and more about demonstration in the marketing communications themselves. Okay. And then the final one is observability. So observability is this is the degree to which consumers can see the new product and the benefit it provides. Okay. So the more visible your innovation is, the more visible those marketing communications are, that's going to drive word of mouth. It's going to drive brand awareness, product awareness, and that will help speed up the diffusion through the population. Okay, especially if you have distinctive features or brand elements that are unique to this new innovation. Okay, so again, I think Keurig did an excellent job of this. They had a widespread marketing campaign. You see Keurigs everywhere, right? Before I'd ever even, before one was ever in my home or anyone else I knew, really no one I knew had one. I started seeing them in different businesses. And so I think having some of those relationships can be really helpful as well to make sure that your product is observable. It's visible out there in the marketplace. Okay. So in sum, we had relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. Okay. So my challenge to you is to think about, number one, what category of adopter are you? Okay. Broadly speaking. Number two, does it depend on the type of product? And if so, which types of products are you more likely to adopt earlier on the spectrum, and which types of products are you more likely to adopt later? Okay. Are there certain product characteristics that might change how fast you adopt new products? Okay. So I want you to think about that. Leave a comment in the comment box below, and then we can kind of think about, are there different characteristics, and are there different characteristics of people that make them more likely to be, an early adopter or a laggard, or, somewhere in the majority phase. And then on this idea of these different categories, different characteristics that help products and innovations move throughout the population. Okay, again, relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, observability. Of those, which is the one that you think is the most important and why? Again, drop a line in the comments below, and I will make sure that we kind of get a dialogue started about this. I think this is a really interesting topic, and this sort of wraps up the first set of videos on the product P. We are going to have another set of videos on product, and this is going to get more into branding, strategy, and product management. So watch for those coming out next.